Murray Brennan, and this is the first video in a series on how to do public readings of your work, which is something that authors get asked to do on a fairly regular basis, and yet we also get very little advice on how to do it. Generally, we just get thrown into the deep end on the assumption that if we know how to write words, we know how to perform them. But we're, most of us, not actors. And so I figured it would be useful to collect some advice on how to do this. In fact, I thought you should write a blog post. Yeah, actually it's 9 blog posts, which I realized I would also need to make videos because I can't really explain how to do some of these things without demonstrating how to do them. So, welcome to a mini-series, is it still mini if there are 9 installments, on how to do public readings of your own work. Let's start with figuring out what you're going to read. Step 1. Find out how much time you'll have for the reading. It boggles me how many writers don't seem to take this into account. I've been to group readings where one person hogs far more than their share of the time slot, or individual events where the author glances at the clock mid-reading and seems to be surprised by what they find. Don't be that author. Plan ahead. And remember that the time you get is not the time you get. If you have a half-hour solo reading slot at a convention, do you have half an hour to read? Nope. Because it's going to take a little while for people to clear out from the previous reading, and you want to make sure you're not the jerk whose audience delays the next author in line. You also probably want to leave at least a little time for Q&A. So if you've got a half-hour slot, that means you want roughly a 20-minute selection at most. If it's an hour-long slot shared with 2 other authors, that's 20 minutes apiece, which means your own offering should be 15 minutes at most. If you have an hour all to yourself, does that mean you should choose something 45 minutes long? You can, but unless you're really confident in your ability as a performer, I'd say not to risk it. 45 minutes is a long time to hold an audience's attention with a single piece. Most of the time, you're going to be better off choosing 2 or 3 shorter bits so that they get a few changes of pace along the way. And if you're not sure how much time you have, ask. The con runners or bookstore manager will be happy to tell you what they expect so you can plan accordingly. Step 2. Pick something the right length for the time available. Okay, let's say you have 20 minutes for actual reading time. How much story does that mean? The answer will vary somewhat from author to author, so the real answer here is that you need to figure out what it means for you. But my rule of thumb for my own events is that it takes me about 5 minutes to read 1,000 words. That isn't really accurate, mind you. I've been told I read with very good clarity, which partially makes up for my tendency to go faster than I really should, but even then, if I get through 1,000 words in 5 minutes, I'm probably reading too fast. But it has the virtue of being a number I can easily remember. So I use it as my upper bound, then work downward from there. If I have 20 minutes, then I want something less than 4,000 words long. 15 minutes means I'm counting down from 3,000 words, etc. How do you figure out your own speed? By picking something whose length you know and reading it out loud. Time yourself. Do this several times with several different texts until you know what your own ballpark number should be. Of course, this will also depend on how you're reading, so it will go hand in hand with the stuff I'm going to talk about in later installments, but for now, just bear this in mind. Next time, we'll talk about how to choose your material.